Welcome to the God's Voice Today podcast, where you'll hear the truth that will set you free. And now your host, Vladimir Proknevsky.
All right, welcome to the show. This is God's Voice Today podcast, and I'm your host, Vladimir Proknevsky. Thank you for tuning in. I have a great show for you today. You will hear an interview that I did with Patrick Militello, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. So it's Patrick Militello, Milettello. Anyway, Patrick had an amazing near-death experience when he was only 10 years old. He had a face-to-face encounter with Jesus, and what Jesus shared with him actually came true years later in his life. It was prophetic. I was completely blown away by it. I personally love near-death experiences. I find them very encouraging. I probably watched all the near-death experience that YouTube has to offer, and I'm serious. I love them that much. So Patrick's video is probably one of the most recent near-death experiences on YouTube. He published it back in 2014 for his aunt who lost her husband of 50 years, with really no intentions of sharing with anyone else. One of the main reasons why I invited Patrick on my podcast was because Jesus asked Patrick to share his experience with everyone, so I thought I would help him out, and surely he would not turn me down if Jesus himself asked him to share, right? As far as I know, this is Patrick's first interview about his experience, and I'm sure it won't be his last, so let's go ahead and listen into the conversation. Enjoy. Hey, Patrick, thank you so much for taking time away from everything you got going on to talk to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share what God has revealed to me.
You know, Patrick, I found your YouTube channel by accident. I was just surfing the web for near-death experiences, and I was just blown away with your testimony. It was amazing. You know, I couldn't help but to wonder, why did you take so long to share this testimony with the world?
Well, I actually had shared it all throughout my youth. The problem is, when you're a kid and you really don't know anyone to share it with. And to be honest with you, back in the 80s, this was unheard of. I mean, I didn't know anyone who had gone through this. And when I told people, I pretty much always got the same reaction, was disbelief, and the crazy flag would be thrown. And even with family members, you wouldn't think that they would, you have no reason to not tell the truth about something like this. And it, I never really was believed, just because it was just, again, nothing like this had been heard of, but I had shared it with family members and with friends, and it's kind of a burden on me throughout my lifetime. Was who would I share this with? He had to have shown this to me for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can never tell anyone and no one will ever believe me over this, why did it happen? And so it's just and to be honest with you, it's totally God working, because the video was for my aunt who had lost her husband of 50 years.
Oh, wow. And
I made the video for her specifically. It wasn't necessarily for everyone on YouTube. And she lost her husband, and my mother mentioned it to her about what my testimony was about it, and comforted her. And I told her, and she asked me, could I write it down or make a video of it? So that's where the video came from.
Wow.
I had shared it throughout my life, but really no one ever believed me. And
that's just crazy.
It really is. It and everything about it really points back to Scripture. Now that I'm older and I know, and I've read the Bible, and I understand things a little bit better, it's led me to, it's validated Scripture over and over and over and over again for me. Those who can't see, who are choosing not to see, who are choosing, that their ears can't hear, they won't hear, they won't see, they choose not to. And so Anyway, that's basically as far as me telling people. I actually had shared it quite a bit, but as a child and even growing up, got very little. No one really ever actually took it seriously. So,
What was the response from the online community when you uploaded this video to the web?
it was really encouraging. It was incredible, and I looking back on it now, I understand it. I can kind of piece together now with hindsight of, God made this specifically for people He wanted to see, who He drew to it. It wasn't for everybody, and my job was not to convince everybody, because I can't. I can't convince anyone, and I don't want to. It's all I am is the woman at the well who, just she showed up to pick up her water jug and to get her water for the day, and there was Jesus, and it's just a matter of doing what, going out into the town and saying, hey, could this be him? Could this be the Messiah? It's just a message. I'm just a messenger, and I hate even that that my name is even involved, because I'm nothing, and I'm not looking for attention. I actually would prefer not to have attention. I'm just or anything other than to encourage people and let them know that there is a God, and His name's Jesus Christ, and there's a life after this. This is truly a tent, and you will not die. There is no death. You can't die. When you leave this world, you'll go one of two places, but you won't die.
If you don't mind, let's go ahead and dive into your testimony. So you were roughly around 10, 11 years old, right?
Right around 10, around 1980 ish, and both of my parents worked, so we were left alone during the summertime. My two siblings and I, and like kids, going to our area to go play, and this just happened to be in some woods behind our house, and and had an accident playing around as a child. I fell out of a tree house, and landed on a stump on my back, and as soon as I did, I was dead. It came out of my body, and so it's just the story of that, of me, of what happened in that, in my recollection of what transpired there.
So how big of a fall was it? Was it mainly because you just landed wrong, or did the distance have anything to do with you dying?
It was more that I landed wrong. It was probably about 10 feet. And like I said, I was about 10. It wasn't super high, but it was high enough. And I landed on a stump, a tree that had fallen behind that tree. And when I landed dividing it with my back.
What was your immediate reaction when you came out of your body? Did you feel like something was wrong?
No, I didn't think anything was wrong. At first, when it happened, I felt it. It hurt as quickly as cutting on a light switch. It was extremely fast. There was pain, and then there was nothing. I didn't feel any pain, and and so it's kind of like laying in bed, with your eyes closed, and you're like, that hurt, let me
Mm-hmm.
get up and brush off and go back to what I was doing. And when I went to get up, I felt like I had my eyes closed and I couldn't open my eyes. I felt like it was darkness. I couldn't open my eyes. So I went to sit up. And when I sat up or tried to sit up, there was, all the things that were around me, the trees and the leaves and all that. And as I turned back around, I looked at myself and I'm laying on the ground. And I'm trying to get up, but I can't because there's this weightlessness. I mean, there's nothing to grab onto, and there's it's kind of like being in space, I would guess,
Mm-hmm.
of not being no physical gravity pulling you down, and you being able to push your pull against it. And I'm looking at my body, and I'm thinking, at that point, it's starting to dawn on me, like, what am I doing there? How am I here? How am I looking at myself? And as I'm doing that, trying to come to terms with that I'm still laying there, I start to float up, and gradually, and I'm trying to get back down to the ground, and I'm floating higher and higher, and I can see around, the area I was laying, and I could see the tree house, and I could see the trees, and just like if I was there, fully aware, fully conscious, could see in real time. It wasn't any kind of haze or movie magic. It was me, and I'm literally floating up, and I'm trying to scream out for help because I'm really kind of freaking out at this point, and because I can't grab a hold of anything. I'm just going up, and nothing's coming out. No voice is coming out. I'm screaming and screaming to my parents and phoning on for help, and nothing's coming out. And I kind of attribute that now to, I had nothing. There's no way for me to make a sound. I didn't have the body that I could push the air through my lungs to make the sound, and there was no air. I mean, I wasn't.
Did you have a body at all?
Didn't have a body. No,
No.
I didn't have a body. I mean, I had a body, but it wasn't the flesh body that I'm in now. It was me, but it's I don't know. It wasn't the same one. There was the physical representation, I guess, of me, but no solid. Put your hand against something.
Gotcha.
So I guess that's the best I could come up with in describing it. So anyway, I'm floating up higher and higher. I get to the tree line. I can see my neighborhood. I can see my house. I can see there's a power line actually separating my house from these woods. I'm floating up to about that height, to the top of these power lines, and and I'm really freaking out by this time. What I do, I'm just keep going up. And I'm not understanding it. I don't know anything about. I didn't know anything about death. I didn't know anything about. I was a kid, and so I get to the top of this power line, and further up, they're just a little dot turned into, and I want to say, kind of like, looks like an upside down tornado-ish type thing, kind of like a wormhole.
Right.
It sounds. That's the only thing I can attribute it to, that the concept, if you will. And it it started up small, and when it came down on top of me, it was huge.
Were you scared at that point?
I was terrified.
Hmm.
I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on, and and I'm a kid, and I've just, my body's down on the ground. It's me. If you can just imagine yourself right now as we're talking, going through this, and you're now up in the clouds going, how do I get down there? How do I get, my mom's going to kill me when she gets home from work. So I get to the top of this power line, and this thing appears above me, and I get sucked into it. As soon as when it opened up, it was like a vacuum. All of a sudden, I'm in it, and I'm racing through it. And
what was the visual of this tunnel? Did you see stars, galaxies, or anything like that?
No, well, it was too fast. I knew, and that's another thing is I don't think we realize how limiting our bodies are to who we are. When you're out of it, you're so much more aware of what's going on around you. Our bodies are so limiting what we are. It's almost not even funny. I was completely aware of what's going on. I was everywhere around me, every point around me, not just where I'm looking at, like we can look through our eyes and see ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what was going on all around me. I knew exactly what was happening. And, just more senses are aware and so anyway, I'm going through this, and I guess you could say it was a dark tunnel, but it really wasn't a dark tunnel, more like a wormhole, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that's transporting me from one place to another really fast. And the dark tunnel was space. I'm going through space really fast. I can see, lights flashing, but I understood it to be, stars flying by, and that's, again, I was more aware. I understood more things, and I, even now, I some of the things that when I look back on it, I can't remember everything that I did, but I just understand that it was just so much more that of the experience that I can't comprehend now. So anyway, I'm going through this tunnel, and I'm going really fast, and I'm freaking out, and I'm worried about being at home, and worried about where I'm going and how am I going to get back, and I was really scared, and screaming and nothing coming out, and from nowhere, from the blackness outside of the tunnel, if you will, something came in and grabbed my arm. And when it grabbed me, as soon as it touched me and grabbed me, it was a huge hand grabbed a hold of my arm. And as soon as it hit me, I'm okay. I was not upset. I was not worried about where I was going. I knew everything was going to be okay. Peace. I was loved. Was taken care of. Nothing to worry about. And worry just went away. And just this sense of peace and love and consuming love, intense consuming love. And so, I stand over next to me, and what I now believe to be an angel. And it was huge, proportion-wise, even to an adult man is, 3 times the size. and he was wearing, I say, a white robe, and like, it really wasn't a white robe. It was bright. The clothing he wore was glowing. It's like a fluorescent brightness. His whole being was like white, and so he's not really he's not grabbing me more than he's holding me and calming me and guiding me. And so, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Did you say it was? Did you say it was Jesus, or did you say it was an angel? Sorry, I missed
No,
that.
it was. I think it was an angel.
Oh, an angel.
Yeah, it was an angel, and and for now I understand. I didn't as a kid. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what it was, and again, the Bible has validated all this. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this was in the Bible, and I go back and later on in life and read Jesus' description of the beggar and Lazarus and the rich man, and the angels are carrying them into heaven and into hell. I didn't know that. I had no clue. And there's so many things throughout the experience that the Bible later on in life, years and years after I'm telling people about this, I go back and I read it and I'm like, that's it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, he led me and held on to me, and there started to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a light at the end of the tunnel; it's the end of the tunnel. It's heaven, and the glory of God and the brightness it's the end of that wormhole, of that transportation device, I guess. And we get there, and as we get to the light and walk into it, the love overcomes you. It's like it's in a swimming pool of love. It surrounds you and penetrates you, and it's undescribable. How much God loves us. We can't comprehend it. It's hard to even think of it that way. It's hard not to want to be there. So, yeah.
So
but that's
go ahead.
that's
Sorry.
the end of the tunnel. Was the bright light, if you will, was reaching heaven, and it's the glory of God shown there, and so we get there, and it's a place. It's a real place. It's not clouds, and it's not theoretical. It's not like, I don't believe in that. It's the truck aiming at you in the highway. It's whether you believe it or not, it's going to run you over if you don't, step aside. It's real. It's a real place.
Yeah. Everyone always talks about when they enter this place, the colors, talked about the colors they've never seen before, animals and all that kind of stuff. How would you describe this place?
There's no words for, I can tell you I was in a swimming pool of love, but, it's indescribable. You can't imagine it. I mean, there's no way to describe
Our
it.
mind is just too limited to describe.
We're so limited. You're right. It's just we're so limited, and our minds can't comprehend it. It's well beyond what we can. I couldn't tell you. All I can say was just gorgeous, beautiful.
Do you remember seeing any animals?
No. I didn't see any animals. There was a tree, only one tree that I saw. There was grass. It was hilly. I'm from Louisiana, so, and as a kid, I had never left Louisiana. I'd never traveled anywhere, so I'd never seen hills before.
Oh, I see.
And so when I got there, and as an adult, I can say, kind of like an Irish setting, if you will, very hilly. They're green grass, and it wasn't high. It was a low cut grass, and just gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Now the angel that go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, I was standing next to the angel, and we show up, and I'm amazed at him. I'm looking at him. I just can't take my eyes off of him. And he kind of, with his hand, he does one of these, look over here. This is, look there kind of deals. He didn't say anything, and just kind of opened his arm to look over toward the tree, and here we are. You've made it. And so I look. I just kind of start looking around and kind of taking it in.
Do you remember what the angel looked like? Can you describe his face? Do you remember what his features looked like? Did he look like a human being?
I couldn't describe his face. It was a male. He was a male. I knew that. He was really big. I could describe his hands and his robe, or his, but I just didn't. I don't know if it's my memory or what, but I remember a lot of things, and that was something I never could remember is what his face looked like.
Gotcha. So you got to heaven. The angel was showing you around. What happened next?
I look around, and I'm on the top of a hill, and as I'm looking toward another hill, there was a drop off going toward a gully, if you will. It went down, and at the bottom, there seemed to be a stream. I didn't see any water at the bottom of the stream, but there was a walk bridge that went from one hill over the stream to the other hill, and the other hill went up, and at the top of the hill, I want to say it was 300 or 400 yards away, there was a tree, a single tree. And as I'm scanning it, and I look down, and I look at the bridge, and I scan my way up to the tree. From the side of the tree, hundreds and hundreds of people start running out. And it was kind of like a clown car, because there's nothing on one side of the tree, but the other side of the tree, human beings are running out from the side of the tree, and there's just a massive amount of people running out from the side of the tree, and they're all screaming my name, and just very excited to see me, and like they've been waiting for me their whole lives, and they're finally I've gotten there, and they're and they're screaming at me to come over.
Did you recognize anyone?
I didn't recognize any of them, and maybe because it was a distance, I could make out people, and as a kid, I didn't know very many people. I mean,
right.
I knew some of the kids from my neighborhood and my parents and my relatives, but
were they young, older? What ages were they?
I don't remember any old or any real young. I want to say they were all kind of, younger, 20s and 30s type. No one really too old and too young.
Interesting.
And I look out, and they're very excited, and they're screaming at me to come, and I wanted to go. I mean, I was by this time I'm loved, and I don't want to go nowhere. I want to go with them. And I take off running from the side of the Angel down the hill, and they're screaming at me, "Come on, Patrick! Yeah, Patrick! Come on, let's go! Yay! All right, you're finally here!" And they turn and they start screaming at the tree. And I by this time I get it. I can't see what's behind the tree. Something's hidden behind the tree. And they're screaming, "Can he come? Can he come?" Like they're asking permission. And I'm running down the hill, and as I'm getting toward the bottom, this booming, deep voice, huge booming voice that shook everything. He said, it's not his time, and very calm like that. Just, but it was a command. It was no, it's not his time.
And where did that voice come from? Was it from behind the tree?
It was all around. It was from behind the tree, but it was such a huge, penetrating.
It's like a thunder, right?
Even more. I mean, I don't think I can even just. I say, in the video, it's like a world talking. We don't get. I mean, we can't comprehend that. It's so big. It's, I wasn't scared, but I think I would have been here. I was there, and I knew I was safe and loved, and nothing was going to happen to me. But if I would have heard that here, I would have, been hiding or something, because it was tremendous. And when I heard it, and he said I couldn't, it's not his time, I knew what that meant. I mean, instantly. I kept running. I was running. I started, kind of, I was going to get across that bridge, and I was going to get to them. And I went to go get across the bridge, and when I got to the bridge, I couldn't cross it. I couldn't get on it. I couldn't set my foot on it, and there was something keeping me from getting on it. And I wanted to be there. I wanted to be on that bridge, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to stay. And then as I couldn't cross it, all the people across who were cheering me, they just kind of went silent. And we were just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And I knew that something was going to happen, but I had to wait for it. And I started to walk back up the hill toward the Angel, and I got about halfway, and a man appeared off to my left-hand side, and I turned and looked at him. In proportion, he was a man. I mean, there was, it wasn't any disproportion or anything. It was like a human being, and amazing. And talk for a second. And he said that he called me by name. He was Patrick. And let's talk about this. And it was Jesus. And he told me that I could stay or I could go.
Do you remember what he looked like? His face? What did he look like?
Yeah, but I can't. I won't describe him just because I don't think I should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why that so many people have lived years with them and didn't. There's no physical description in the Bible.
Mm.
There's a reason for that. We tend to make idols, and we worship that idol instead of God.
That's true.
And so I know I could probably pretty good description, but I'm not. I just won't.
Gotcha. I don't blame you. I see your point.
But he's beautiful. Just
So Jesus pretty much told you that this is not your time, and that he was trying to encourage you to go back to Earth, right?
I didn't want to. He told me that I could stay or I could go.
Oh, so he
But
did give you a choice?
He gave me a choice, but if I stayed, he told me my parents would be upset, and that I was supposed to be married and have children, and my children would never I would never have the children at because I wouldn't be there. And so I was supposed to be married, and he gave me a description of where he lived, and and my children. And at the time, I was, to be honest with you, I'm a 10-year-old boy, and I don't know anything about girls at that point. I didn't want to go back at all, and I pleaded with him to stay. And then he would talk to me, and we went for a few rounds doing that, where he would tell me, explain to me more of what would happen if I didn't go back and the consequences of that. And so I agreed, and I was okay. Well, I don't want my parents to be upset, and I want my children to be born, and but I didn't want to go, and I would take about 5 steps away, and I'd turn around and I'd run back to him. And the last time I ran, I grabbed a hold of him around his waist, and I didn't want to let go, and I was crying, and kind of not crying, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. Don't make me go. And he starts chuckling, and he kind of did one of those. He was laughing at me, and it gives me comfort, knowing that he laughs.
Right. Unlike some people claim that our God is so quick to discipline and that he doesn't have a good sense of humor.
He made us. And, he made us, and he made laughter. He made humor.
Yeah.
That's where we get it from. So, he kind of chuckled at me and kind of looked up like, the God the Father. He just kind of, this is too funny. And he said, Patrick, it's going to be okay. And, talk me through it again. And I, okay, you're right. He just, not that he talked me into it, but he helped me make the right decision. I think if I would, if I would have just, at the end of the day, said, no, I want to stay, he would have talked that stay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, it's a matter of selflessness. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to come home. Back here, that was my home. It's where I was made to be. I knew that. It's like going on, this is the vacation, this is the trip. And you finally get back home. And you don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've taken comfort in that my whole life. It's, if I went there one time, even when I rejected him in my years, total rejection is, it was wrong. And, if he let me in one time, he's going to let me in again. But, total rejection of him, even with knowing what I knew. And it's been a comfort my whole life. It's been something I've been blessed with my whole life, of knowing the reality of where we go when we die, and not have to worry about, is there going to be somewhere, or am I going to go in the ground and just not exist anymore? I've never had to worry about that because I know better. Mm-hmm. There is no death. This conduit that we're in now dies, but we can't stay in it. But we don't die. We're like him. He made us in his image, and he doesn't die.
Patrick, this may sound like a harsh question, but I'm just curious. After everything that you went through, you still rejected Jesus. Is that because he sent you back, or why did you do that?
I'm a sinner. I mean, I'm human. I'm so human. Mm-hmm. And even with knowing all I knew, that's their nature. It's the sin. I want it my way and to do what I want to do, and it's fun. Sin's fun. Mm-hmm. Being a drunk is fun. Going to do whatever I want to do, it's fun. And especially growing up, when everyone around you is doing the same things, you just wanting to be part of the crowd, mm-hmm. and enjoying it, But always in the back of my mind, I knew, he was there. He was watching me.
Have you had an encounter with Jesus since this experience when you got older, years later?
No.
Never?
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever any opposition? Sometimes when you get the word, the devil tries to take it away from you right away. Have you ever had any kind of negative encounters with maybe some demons or anything like that?
Right after that, right as soon as the first few months after this happened, I was, I don't know if I would call it, I saw stuff that just would freak me out, and, and I remember praying, asking God to take it away from me, and don't let me see this, because I could see more. Mm-hmm. I understood it more, what was going on around me, like the demons and whatnot that were going on, that are here, I was aware of. And
it seems like your spiritual eye was still open. It's like it didn't close all the way when you returned, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't very long. Like I said, I was scared. It scared the pants off me, and I remember praying for God to stop making me see these things, and it stopped.
Interesting. And when Jesus mentioned that you will have a wife and 3 kids, in your experience, that really did come true for you, right?
It did. Yeah, I got married, and I have 3 kids, and my wife is from Central, and it came true, and yeah, it's just incredible that looking back on it.
Wow,
but I didn't remember that. I remembered us talking about having kids, I was going to be married, and as I got older. But once I got married, I remembered the other part, and I guess it became just I wouldn't be looking for someone from that area, I guess.
Right. What about your wife and your kids, or your whole family in general? Do they believe your story? Do they think it really did happen?
My kids do. my wife, not so much. Just it's really strange that I how people react to hearing this, and even knowing, me and my personality, and I'm not a fairly regular guy, and I'm not very fantastical. I'm pretty boring, potatoes kind of guy.
Well, you have cool stories to share, right?
Yeah. So, no, very few people in my life have ever taken it seriously, other than with a grain of salt.
Have you ever heard of Howard Storm's near-death experience? He was a college professor, an atheist college professor back in the day, and he died in France while taking students to France, and his experience was very similar to yours. He had an open eye when he came back. He was able to see some things. Again, he prayed to God and he asked the same thing to remove that ability. But anyway, I find it interesting, and I just see so many similarities in his experience with yours. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I don't know of him. I've seen some of the other ones, and some of the ones, and I've even been asked on some of the comments from mine. What about these other people who see all these different things when they die? They see this light, and they go into the light, and they're part of the light, and everyone's welcomed. And I can't explain. I can only tell you what I've seen. I'm not. I'm just the witness, the person who tells what they've seen.
Right.
So that's what I've seen. My gut reaction, and this has no standing whatsoever, other than an opinion, and it's an opinion, like everybody else has an opinion, is that they weren't able to get close enough to heaven. They were out of their body. They felt how it feels not being in this body, which is releasing. It's very relieving not to be in the body, because you don't, in this body you get pain, and there's no pain. You don't feel, there's no pain whatsoever. You feel amazing, and but they get to that point where they can't go in, because they still have sin, and God isn't going to have sin around them. It just won't. So he's still telling them, he's still making them aware. Yes, here I am. There is a God. Search me out. Find out about me. But you aren't able to get close enough to see His glory. You may be able to feel it.
In closing, what would you say to someone who is lost out there in the world and is listening to this interview? What would you say to that person?
The thing I would say is God, who made everything, who is the creator of everything, He had compassion upon us. He looked down. He didn't have to. We're rejecting Him, and we're denying Him, and we don't want Him to be part of our lives. But even knowing that we hate Him, and we're rejecting Him, He loved us so much that He would pay the price Himself for our sin. Price we owed. We belonged on that cross. I belong on that cross. I belong being murdered because I'm the one who sinned. It wasn't him that sinned. You know, he did everything. All we have to do is accept him, accept what he did for us, and put your faith in him, because he's already done the work. He's paid the price. He's paid your check for sin. You can never earn your way in heaven. You can't do enough good to get it to heaven. You can't. Stop trying to do enough good. Accept his payment, and through your acceptance, you'll want to have him as part of your life. Put your trust in him. You're on a sinking ship, and your ship is, you don't have very long left. None of us do. And if you don't accept him before you die, you're going to spend eternity in hell. You will. And you'll be regretting this decision for the rest of eternity, because you'll never die. You'll always be aware of your decision. You'll always be aware of this faint, brief time in your existence where you could have been in heaven, but you chose not to be. He's never going to turn away somebody who's asking him and believing him and accepting him. He loves us, and he wants us to be with him. And we can't even imagine how much he loves us and wants us to be with him. So I would say, accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, because he's God. Because he's God.
It's a good word. And lastly, what is the best way to get in touch with you if, say, someone has a question for you? Is there an email address that you would mind sharing, or maybe a website or anything like that?
Sure. You can email me at Miletelp. It's MILETELP at yahoo.com. And probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I will include this contact information in the show notes for those of you who are trying to get a hold of Patrick. But again, Patrick, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking time away from everything to talk to me. So thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Patrick Militello. If you'd like to listen to his full interview or video recording that he did on YouTube, you can click on the link below under the show notes. Other than that, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you'd like to support us financially, you can do so by going to godsvoicetoday.com/donate, or you can click on the donate button up above. Thank you so much again for your time, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.